But what I really want to do is kind of spend some time talking about the bigger picture. So, cool thing, and I feel like we're blasé in terms of kind of understanding kind of the time that we're living in from an IT culture and from a technology culture. And we are living in an amazing time. And I think the obligation to our clients, given the speed of evolution of technology, is greater and greater. I mean, I joined the company in 2010, and to think of where we've changed, not as GadellNet, but as the world that we live in, it's huge. I just wrote a LinkedIn post kind of about fatigue of CEOs and just kind of how almost exhausting it's become with how do you keep up. You invest money into something and you're already behind by the time it gets implemented. We live in an incredible time, and thus we have a huge obligation to our clients. And this is the turning point of us as GadellNet, the managed services call center, versus the GadellNet consulting. And I think that delineation is a theme throughout the course of this entire presentation. It's getting away from process and I'm going to be scorecarded on this to what am I doing? And I think that that's kind of where we're living right now. Right now we've got, I'm just going to put these arbitrarily just because they were super cool to me. I have 3 kids. Most likely by the time they start driving, they will not be driving themselves. We are to the point that, unlike science fiction 20 years ago, we are to the point that there will be a car leaving my house that I will not be driving. Almost to the point that I don't even have to invest in cars anymore because I can just hit a button and I can have a car out here and it can drive me back to Indianapolis. We are, in our lifetime, putting humans onto another planet, which is just mind-boggling. We are mapping DNA to the extent that everybody sitting here could theoretically live way past 100. Which means that you will work at GadellNet for 60 to 80 years, which I appreciate. That is amazing as well, to think that we have not only the ability to map DNA, but map DNA at an individual level, to the extent that we can almost eradicate disease. We are in a time where you no longer have to actually remember anything that you are doing, because you can walk around with these little Snapchat goggles and Snapchat your life and document everything that happens to you and your kids and your family in a progressive sort of way. That's the world that we live in. That's the world that our customers are living in. And so that fatigue happens because this is all happening so fast. And they are trying to run a business in a very different way than they ran their business before. So the human achievement, and I kind of went bigger than even just business, but human achievement is really limited by how do you leverage that technology in a way to be powerful and imaginative and amazing. And again, take market share from your competition and be special. That's our jobs. Our job is not always, again, our job starts with my user needs a password reset, but it really ends with what have I done to make a difference today. Imperative number 1 is creating opportunities for small business and schools to be asymmetrical to their competition, in the sense that they have a balance of something. They've got that hot sauce, special whatever sauce that Luke talked about, in terms of against their competition. And that is, again, anything that we put together kind of creates opportunities to tip the scales in their favor. Imperative number 2 is really that kind of professional era of the unified application. In my world of non-technical thing is, can't my clouds just kind of get along? This is really the tie-in back to what we're doing at the Rivet perspective. And what we're doing to those clients that are now leveraging some of that Rivet thinking is, how do we create efficiency, speed, awareness, intelligence by connecting applications? And how do we allow the endless choices that the world kind of brings from an application level, and how do we allow our clients to choose those applications in a way that fits their business well? Well, we can do that because applications are now talking to each other, and I'm not beholden to a specific application that only works as a broad application for specific businesses. So how do we think bigger than just the common applications? And then once we get those applications, how do we kind of tie that information together and create governance, create information, and create clarity around how those applications integrate with each other? Security. Security obviously being probably one of our biggest product development things that we did in Q3. That's now out and running. It's with clients. It's billing. It's making us money. Is we are now creating kind of a meaningful architected security plan for small businesses. Again, I would say where the fatigue lies the most is at the cybersecurity level. Is I can't solve every problem. I can't protect myself completely, so I just kind of throw my hands up and say, F it. Or I can't remember my passwords every 90 days. That's a ridiculous idea. Even though they know their risks, that there's an 80% chance their business is going to get breached this year, what, 3% of our clients actually change their passwords every 90 days, is how do we narrow that gap? And I think the security program that we're putting together and your responsibility, it's not just Brad and his team to help sell this. It's everyone's responsibility of saying, hey, I see opportunities. You had this issue. This could have been prevented by policy, a procedure, technology, something that can protect a people, an app, or some sort of critical data for the client. Kind of business intelligence and proactive technology. This is an image stolen from Adam State, so thanks for sharing. But basically, automate everything, and that is something that we need to look in the mirror for ourselves and figure out what can we automate that we're not automating now. Again, as we'll talk about profitability, we'll talk about scale, but as we continue to optimize for scale, is what are we doing that requires typing? That could be done automatically using tools that we have or tools that we haven't found yet. Ditto for the client side. Artificial intelligence, that came out, 30 years ago, and it was kind of this huge bust. 30 years later, it's now becoming real. It's everything from kind of that Siri that's kind of helping provide information to us to more comprehensive business decision making. The predictive analytics is a big one, is how do I make a decision based on, it is Monday, how do I create inventory on Thursday because I know I'm going to have a huge influx of people buying pies on Friday because I'm a bakery. Is how do you think, all right, well, what data points and where those data points come from in order to kind of predict the future? So that big data is going to be important. And again, this is kind of the rattle the cage. And the bottom comment is taking a risk is actually the lowest risk. And we really talked about this, I think it was really in the Q2 presentation, is in the sense that change and why we continue to change. And the good thing about that is in the last 6 months, we really just kind of scaled. We didn't really do much in the way of kind of crazy changes, but taking a risk is actually the lowest risk. And that is the message we need to share with our clients. I gave a presentation a few weeks ago, and the theme of the presentation was the idea of the fact that if the change outside of your business is greater than the change inside of your business, you'll go out of business. And that theme of taking risks is important. So the statistic that I heard, and actually thanks to NPR on the way here yesterday, the top 100 IT companies that exist today, half of them will be gone in 10 years. And that's not GadellNet being an IT company. That's Cisco, that's VMware, that's Microsoft. Those are the technology companies that 10 years from now will not exist. So why are we so insistent on high performance? Is our company depends on it, our clients certainly depend on it, and it's where we create stunning colleagues.